So let's talk about the Bulls' young dudes a little bit. I talked about Jabari and LaVine at least a couple weeks ago in their own videos, but I figure we can group them all up here. And the players I'm talking about specifically, like LaVine and Jabari, of course, then you're looking at Chris Dunn, Markkanen, Wendell Carter Jr., also Bobby Portis, I think, is being forgotten when people talk about this Bulls young core, so we can include him in there as well. I think what I'm going to do is rank these guys by just how I like them the most. My number one is actually Wendell Carter Jr. It's not Lauri Markkanen. The reason I like Carter the most is because I think he's just the safest bet of all these guys on both sides of the floor, because his defense and his rebounding were already really legit in Summer League, and everything that you could praise him for in college just seemed to transition over pretty well. I think he's going to be a good rim protector, post defender, pick and roll defender. I don't know how good he's going to be at switching on to perimeter players all the time, but I don't think he's going to be like a disaster at that either. And with some time, he can probably be pretty decent at it. And then offensively, seems like he'll be a good screen setter, grab offensive rebounds, make some open shots, and just be pretty damn solid. Well, no, I think he'll be one of the better defensive fives in the league, and then he'll be like pretty okay offensively, and you combine all that, and that's a very good player who I think will be beloved by advanced stats and on-off numbers and all that stuff. Second, I would go with Lauri Markkanen. Offensively, he should be fine. I mean, I think the big question with Markkanen is where can he get to as a post-up player. He was not good in the low post his first year, at least in terms of like NBA.com's percentile thing. I'll admit I didn't watch enough Bulls games to really know how Markkanen was in the post in terms of like his moves or how willing he was to even post up. But if he can get to being something there, turnaround jumpers, hook shots and all that, then I think that makes him a way more valuable offensive player. The question is, can he do it, right? I mean, I know the shooting's going to be there, and I think his ball handling is pretty okay as well. So if you can then top that off with being able to score on mismatches and occasionally post up on other power forwards, and maybe even some centers, then that would be great, Because then you could kind of run anything you want for Markkanen. Like, he could roll, he could pop, but also if the opposing team switches onto him, then he could be like, well, just give me the ball because I got a small dude on me. And because I'm pretty sure he's 7 feet tall, then that would be good. I feel like Markkanen's potential could be like a better version of Kevin Love in Cleveland, where he can just kind of do whatever you ask of him. And then hopefully Markkanen would just have more plays run for him. Kind of like how Kevin Love will now, because LeBron and Kyrie are not there. So, somewhere between 20 to 25 points a game I think is fair for Markkanen at his ceiling. As for his defense and his rebounding and all that, well, that's going to be a different question, I guess if he can be a good defender, then I can look past not being the best rebounder, but we're just going to have to see where he can get to on defense, Can he move his feet enough? Can he defend the posts? Because there are still some bigs who are going to post up. Is he not going to get killed on offensive boards? I mean, Wendell is definitely going to help him out on these things, and that was one of the reasons why I loved the Bulls drafting him so much. But it would still be nice if Markkanen can make up for some of these deficiencies through just getting better. So we'll have to see there. Next, I would go Chris Dunn. He's legit defensively. He's probably one of the better defensive guards already and could be on the trajectory to being one of the best and maybe appearing in some all-NBA defensive teams. Really strong, knows what he's doing, fights through screens, has a lot of like Marcus Smart in him. And that's valuable, no doubt, right? Like he'll always have a piece, or he'll always have a place on an NBA team, I should say. However, his offense, I don't know where he really is going to fill out offensively. His outside jumper, it got better in his second year. I still don't think it's at a place where I can feel really confident about it. his burst off the dribble, his finishing, just all of that. I don't know if he's really a starting point guard offensively. I would still love to have him on my team playing 25 minutes a game, but do I want him starting and do I want him running my offense? Well, I mean, I think his playmaking is farther along than his ability to make shots, but I mean, I would rather have a guy who can give me that spacing and give the defense some fears that he's just going to pop a three-pointer out of nowhere or whatever, right? So, I don't know. I mean, if I started ranking all the starting point guards in the NBA, I think Chris Dunn is either in the mid-tier or maybe even a little bit into the third tier. I mean, my guess would be like he's in the school of Eric Bledsoe, Reggie Jackson, around there, because he's such a better defender than those guys are that I think he closes the gap. But still, I would love more than that from him. So, I don't know. That's what I think of Chris Dunn. I like him. I don't love him as a player. I think next I would look at... I would kind of group up LaVine and Jabari together because I like their potential more than Bobby Portis, but I also am fearful of their floors more than Portis as well, because there's a chance that LaVine and Jabari are just guys who don't actually help you win basketball games. Like, sure, can they make shots? Definitely. LaVine's three-pointer has been pretty damn good. You know, he can hit contested threes, pull-up threes. He'll sometimes shoot them out of the pick and roll, and it goes okay. And with Jabari, like, his post-up game will probably be a bit farther along than LaVine's ever is, and, you know, his three-pointer was getting on a little bit more, especially with Jason Kidd no longer as head coach. Like, these guys can definitely score, but can they play defense? Can they make plays for teammates? Can they grab rebounds? Can they flow within an offense? Can they just provide value if they're not dominating the ball? I don't know. Now, sure, Chris Dunn and Wendell's defense can make up for what these guys can't do defensively, and I will also give Jabari some credit that when he has been locked in, he's actually not been a bad defender. But I am still fearful that it's not going to really work out with either one of these two. Also, the fact that they're playing together might not be the best thing in the world, where one dude messes up and then the other dude messes up and then there's a lot of easy baskets for the opposing team. Could be rough. But of course, both of these guys have also dealt with injuries, so I'm not going to act like I've seen them at their best. So there's definitely a chance that I'm wrong about these two and they end up being positive NBA players and they can put the ball in the basket and they're good enough at other things, but I don't think it's a sure thing right now. So that's where I'm at on those two, and I think because of that, my overall stock of this Bulls young core drops a little bit to being basically what my opinion of Chris Dunn is, which is I like it, but I don't love it. But if we can finish up with Bobby Portis, I think the main thing with him is if he can make jumpers. Because if he can do that, and he can be a floor spacer, a power forward, then I'm actually pretty intrigued by his overall game, because he's not a bad athlete. And he's also shown some ball handling stuff, so maybe he could just be like this kind of point forward dude who makes jumpers, and hell, maybe his defense could actually end up being okay, because again, he's not a bad athlete. So I'm intrigued by Bobby Portis. He may be the type of four who can really fit in with the modern day NBA, but I still recognize that his ceiling is not as high as LaVine and Jabari's. As for what to expect for this upcoming season for Chicago, I don't think they're really going to be in the playoff conversation in the East, because I don't think they're necessarily a disaster on either side of the floor. Like, I think Wendell and Robin Lopez and Chris Dunn can do enough to help them out to where they're not like 30th in offense, and I think Jabari, LaVine, and Markkanen can do enough to where they're not 30th in offense either. But do I think they're going to be like top 15 in either category? No, not really. I just don't think they have enough sure things on either side of the floor, and they're young, so you can expect like a lot of turnovers and some bad defensive stuff sometimes. But they could be pretty exciting. So that's my take on the Bulls. Again, I don't love this young core, but I don't dislike it either. The only player in it that I love would probably be Wendell, but I also could see like Markkanen filling out his overall game and similar things for the rest of these guys. So that's my take on this Bulls team. And yeah.